I like perspective. Today, I want to talk about John Green's much less famous literary work, Paper Towns. So, Paper Towns is a book written by, of course, Mr. John Green, and I found it to be an excellent literary source. It's about this girl and this little boy, and they find a dead body in a park, right? Which is a great start to any book, really. So, they find this dead body in the park, and that freaks them out, right? So, then the book skips ahead, which I didn't really get that, but we'll roll with it. So the book skips ahead when they're in high school, right? They're seniors, they're about to graduate, they're ready to roll. And she hasn't spoken to him in years, multiple years. It's like, okay, they're not friends anymore, probably because of the dead body thing. But one night, she shows up, knocking on his window, and he lives upstairs. Right, so that's sketchy enough. How did you get up on my roof? Knocks on the window, and she says, hey, we're going on an adventure. And I like adventures. So they take off, and they go and buy a bunch of fish and some other crazy things, and they go around, and anyone that was mean to her, or she felt like she doesn't like anymore, she puts a fish in their car, or calls their parents, or just basically messes with them, right? And so it's not that huge of a deal, but it's a huge step for him because he's never done anything like this before in his life, right? So they go around and they get back at everyone that's ever been mean to her, and she gets back at one of the people that was mean to him, and it was like this big, huge adventure, and the next day, she disappears. She drops him back off at home, says, okay, I'll see you tomorrow at school. She's gone. Next day, completely gone. And he's like, okay, this is strange. She's vanished before in the past. It's not like she doesn't run off every once in a while and go do some adventurous kind of dealy-bob. But this time he can tell it's different because she extracted revenge before they left. So she's just gone. And so the whole book is him trying to figure out where she went, right? And he goes through this thing, and there are clues, and the clues lead him to this old building that's been abandoned, and he goes and he meets all these different people who all knew her, but they all knew her in a different aspect, right? So she's got her popular friends. You see her as the popular, stylish girl, and she's got some spelunking friends that see her as an adventurer, and she's got him, and he sees her. He's trying to understand who she is as a general whole, right? And the general whole is much harder to understand than just one of the little pieces. And one of the big parts of the book is she wants people to understand her not as a mirror, but as a window. She wants people to see her for her, not as a reflection of them, right? Too often today in society, we see our friends as a reflection of us, right? So, for example, I see my best friend as a reflection of me. I see everything as a reflection of me. I understand it within my own context, right? Someone else who hasn't had the same life experiences as me won't understand me. And maybe that's good, but maybe it's bad. So she wants everyone to understand who she really is. At least so he thinks. But then he realizes he doesn't even know who he really is. And it's this journey throughout the entire book. Finally, it gets down to it. They figure out where she's at. She's at a paper town. Now, a paper town is a town that simply just exists on paper. They're copyright traps. See, what map makers would do is they would come up with fake towns, and they would make these fake towns on their maps so that if anyone else was copying their maps, they'd be like, hey, this town doesn't actually exist, you're stealing from me. And then they would get their money and be like, ha, now you don't have a map making shop anymore. So they would do this, and GPS companies still do it to this day, but the paper towns didn't exist, and so they figured out, hey, she's at this paper town, because they go on the Wikipedia, and Wikipedia entry says, town population 0, this town doesn't actually exist. Actually, the town population will be 1 until 12 o'clock on this day. So that's actually their graduation day, so they take off in their van, and they go, and they're going, and they get there, and when they get there, it's like they don't really get that they've arrived, but there's nothing around. And way off in the distance, they spot this barn, right? And this barn outside the barn. Her car's parked there, and they get there, and there she is, and they're talking to her, and she's kind of mad at them because they found them. She didn't actually expect them to be able to find them. She didn't leave the clues on purpose. He was hunting for them. So she's mad at him and wants to know what he expected from her, and she explains the reason she left. The reason she left was she felt like a paper girl, a girl who only existed on paper. She realized that all her life she's been a mirror, never a window. She didn't know who she was. So she decided she was going to go to a paper town because she was a paper girl, a girl who only existed in other people's minds, a town that only exists on paper. They're perfect for each other. And she was there in this town for like 1 or 3 months or something like that. And the entire time she wanted to figure out who she was. So she spent this time here living in this barn figuring out who she was. So she'd be a real girl to go to a real town or a real city and have a real life. So she does. And she figures all this out. And that's the end of the book. She leaves because she's figured out who she is and what she is and what she wants to be in life. And she's no longer a paper girl. So she doesn't have to live in the paper towns. So, perspective, I want us all to consider what we really expect ourselves to be. What do we actually want in life? What is our goals, our dreams, our desires? Tell me in the comments what you expect to be when you get older, or what you're doing now and how you never saw yourself being there. And as always, don't do drugs, stay in school, and don't eat roadkill. Have a good day.